Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. My name is Louis Mendes. This is the big match preview. Hope you guys are all doing well on your Thursday evening as we get ready to gear up for Saturday's trip up to Sixfields to take on Northampton Town. Joining me to look ahead to that game, plus discuss much more. First up, top right, Mr. Benji Cloak. How you doing, Ben?
Yeah, I was laughing then. I was going to shout cobblers and then I forgot. Oh, no. Bad start to the show. But yeah, I'm good, mate. Look, these are out. Christmas time, everyone, means mini twiglets are out. And you've got treeslets as well, isn't it? Those like mini cheddar things as well, if anyone likes them. But it's all about the twiglets. Come on.
Yeah. I'd love to know how you sort of punctuate your year by... How do you know it's Christmas just because twiglets are out? Because you're eating them like every second of every day. So there's no... Other than them being mini, it's just the same as biting them in half. I don't understand why you're so excited for them. The tree mini cheddars sound nice. Also, bottom of the screen there. I'm not going to ask him if he's got a mini anything. Tom Wallin, how you doing, Tom?
Much appreciated. No, I've got a Charlton Live mug though, so little bit of promo. But yeah, I'm all good. I have actually just added twiglets to my shopping list off the back of Benji showing us those. So the more he shows us his twiglets, the more I'm going to buy.
There you go. You're a sucker for a good deal. Yeah, probably too late to order your mugs now for Christmas. But why don't you? Or if you order them now, you'll get them for like the post-Christmas hump when everyone's depressed and needs a Charlton Live mug. So, good idea. Check out charltonlive.etsy.com. So, on this evening's show, as I said, we will be looking ahead to Saturday's trip up to Sixfields to take on Northampton. We're going to hear from a Northampton fan, Andrew Garner. Is due to join us in the second half of the show. No relation as far as we know, but he might reveal himself to be Ben Garner in some of those glasses with the moustache and the nose and that. And we'll hear, of course, from the Addicts boss, Nathan Jones. But in the first half of the show, we're going to do a bit of a review of 2024. So this is going to be our penultimate show of the calendar year. Next on Sunday, we'll of course be looking back at the Northampton game, and we will have our Christmas special with the Christmas quiz as well. So today, I thought we'd go through and just look back some of our favourite moments, our favourite games, our favourite goals of 2024. Of course, I want to open that invite to everyone who's joining us in the chat as well. First one in there says David says, all I want for Christmas is 3 points, please, at Sixfields Stadium on Saturday. Thank you, Santa. I think, David, you really ought to clarify which team's going to get those. Otherwise, Santa might get confused and give them to the opposition, which he has done on quite a lot of occasions, unfortunately, this season. But yeah, evening to David. All hell let loose is in there. It says, last Christmas I gave Charlton some money. The very next day they gave it to Andy Scott. This year, to save me from pain, I'm giving it to Weatherspoons in Putney. It doesn't quite rhyme, but that's not bad. Actually, it's not a bad idea. Sam Cutts is in there. Dudley Peters in there. David, Paul, John. Martin says he's here for some festive joy. Make sure you guys join in the first half of the show. We're going to give you some headlines, some look back at some of our favourite moments of 2024, the calendar year as well. So it gives us a chance to look back at this year with only, I think, 3 games left before the new year for the Addicts. So let's dive straight in to our categories. Like I say, have your say in the chat. For all of them, I've given a few, like a short list of options that you could pick, but also feel free to chuck your own ones in there as well if there's any ones that we've missed. Obviously, not all of this year has been spectacularly memorable, so we might have missed a few out. But let's dive straight into our first category. I've gone for the best game of 2024. Of course, so this does roll back into last year into last season as well. So the turn of the year, sort of January. Ben, do you want to go through the list? I've chucked in a few like a couple of the early ones in under Nathan Jones. Like the 3-3 draw at Bolton was a good game. Obviously, the 2-1 win at Derby was our first in about 17 league games. An important away win at Cheltenham and a nice win against Barnsley at the start of the year. I mean, do you want to throw in some of your own? I'm sure those in the chat will do as well.
To be honest, mate, I don't think there's many more other than those. I remember when we were messaging earlier, I found it all quite depressing, really, looking back. And I watched every game that we scored a goal in just to remind myself, just in case I missed some good goals. But yeah, for me, it's got to be the Derby game as the best game of 2024 for me. Just simply because we were 1-0 down, and we hadn't won in 17. Did you say? And yeah, we were seriously thinking, if Jones doesn't turn this round soon enough, we could be going down. Although we saw some better performances, I think we had the Portsmouth 0-0 just before that. It wasn't looking good, was it? And to go up to Derby, who obviously eventually got promoted themselves, go 1-0 down, and then Daniel Kanu was brilliant that night. I remember he won the penalty. Alfie May scores the penalty, and then Karoy Anderson scores the winner in that second half. And I remember Chuks coming on in that game playing really well. But yeah, no, that for me, I just felt like it was so doom and gloom at the start of the year, and we hadn't won in so many games, and it was looking really bad, wasn't it? And that gave us the boost we needed, especially in away win, for all the fans that were going home and away every game and seeing such negativity. To go there and win and put in such a good performance really set us on our way to just pushing us up the table and some better performances ahead. So yeah, Derby 1, Charlton 2 is my game of 2024.
Yeah, I mean, just to go through the rest of the list as well then. So they were the ones from last season. From this calendar year, this season I've gone for 2-0 at home against Bolton in August. Obviously the 1-0 win against Birmingham. I've stuck in the cup wins as well, because I mean, we scored 4 in both of our FA Cup wins so far this season. So the 4-3 game at Southend and the 4-0 win at Walsall. Although that Michael says, how on earth is the Southend game on here? It's one of those that when you look back at it, when you see a 4-3 in the scoreline, you think, oh, that must have been a good game. But it was an interesting game, certainly. Tom, I mean, the Derby game, it had such huge importance for us at that time in last season. Obviously, Karoy Anderson's winner was a particularly fond moment for a lot of people. I mean, is that one that you look at? Is there anything else either on or off the list that you'd like to chuck in there as well?
The only other ones I think off the list, we played Port Vale right at the start of the year and drew 3-3, which obviously wasn't a great result and conceded late on, but just as a game was a good one to go to, apart from that last minute goal. And then I guess maybe the Wigan game, first game of the season, just because there was excitement. It's new season, you go away, we took a good following there, we win the game, albeit the game itself wasn't great. And when you reflect on that now and you see that actually our style hasn't really changed, and if anything, we've got worse, at least to start the season with a win like that and then back it up with the Bolton win that you've put on there. I think those two kind of together, you know, it was a good feel around the club, wasn't it? Early days this season. I think the list speaks for itself in terms of how few we were able to put on there about how bad this calendar year has been. But I think, yeah, you're right. The Derby one has to stand out because it's the one that's had the most meaning as well. We were in serious trouble going into that. So to come out of that and really kick on for the remainder of that season at least and make sure that we were safe, I don't think really you can put any other game anywhere near in terms of the importance of it and the significance of it.
Yeah, I mean, of that list, I'm going to throw in a couple of my own personal favourite memories. So, Cheltenham away in March was again a bit of a 6-pointer. We were 1-0 up for quite a spell, and then it went to 1-1 with about 20 minutes left, and there was a fair bit of nervousness because Cheltenham were on top for a spell at that point as well. That if they had gone on to win that game, it would have dragged us right back into that relegation battle. I think it would have put them within a certain amount of points of us, or maybe even above us. I forget, but that was a really important sort of late wins, not just for the club and for the team, but also for myself, because it put to bed the fact that I'd not seen an away win all season at that point, and I was getting quite a bit of stick every time I went to pretty much every game. I'd only missed 2 games that season. And they were both away wins, both on Tuesday night, so I couldn't get to. But that was a Tuesday night game that I could go and saw us win. And for me, the Bolton game in August, because, I mean, this is before you chuck in the benefit of hindsight, but during that game, I was thinking, right, we look like a proper side here. You know, we've got a style that sort of worked for us. We picked apart at the time, pre-season favourite, although haven't had quite the season that they wanted. But yeah, when we won that game and we scored, Matt Gordon got his first goal. It was an excellent goal. Obviously Doherty's goal was very good as well. It really felt like we might be going somewhere. So that was probably, on the day, that was one of my favourite games for a while. But obviously, with hindsight, it a bit of a forced on Unfortunately. I'm just having a look. Yeah, Spamfish and All Hell Let Loose are both saying Derby. Richard saying the Derby away win was such a relief. Chris says Paul says, don't forget the Pompey friendly. Nathan Jones didn't. Yeah, it did come up once or twice recently. Funny enough, I mentioned the Pompey friendly to Nathan Jones in an interview weeks ago, just to say, was the first time I really saw your side looking really structured, and they've carried that on in the early part of the season. So I did enjoy that day, but I wouldn't quite put it in the nominations for the best game of 2024. Yeah, Small had a blinder at Derby, says All Hell Let Loose. Yeah, a couple more people. Yeah, Paul saying great night at Pride Park, apart from the stewards. Dudley said it had a feel-good factor for him. Martin saying, yeah, Bolton game for him as well. Yeah, I thought it was a good one. Richard enjoyed Wigan away on the opening day, even though we weren't fluent. And Dudley says it was good to shove it to Birmingham too, and Nathan Jones's master class. Yeah, 76 Rufus says, it's the hope that killed us. I was sat talking to some Orient fans after the first game of the season, saying how hopeful we were of a good season. Yeah, the first home game. Yeah, it wasn't to be the case. And yeah, George said, sad how small that list is. So over the course of a calendar year, we'd play pretty much 46 league games, Ben, along with another probably 5, 6, 7, 8 cup games, and I've whittled it down to, what was it, 7 or 8 games there, 9 games. Starting to think it might not have been a classic year.
Cool, you can say that again, can't you? I mean, when you first said about the games, I thought, like, what was a game where, like, how many games you look back on and think, when you absolutely lose it, when we score a goal and you just like want to take yourself back to that moment again. Like, I remember us over lockdown talking about Premier League games, like classics in our opinion, and going, do you remember that game? And you just like can't control yourself. But even I remember when Miguel Lera scored when we had 9 men against Swindon and it was 2-2 and it was just like a nothing game. But you think, like, do you remember that moment? And it's just haven't had any of those moments, have we really? I mean, the Leyton Orient game, I must admit, like, I did go a bit nuts when Berry scored because that was 2 wins in a row, 2 clean sheets. And yeah, we didn't play great, but you thought, all right, we might like a good side wins it at the death, like even if they're playing bad. So this might help us. And I do actually reflect back at that podcast me, you and Nath did after the Bolton game, and we were sat here all smug thinking, do you know, this is looking all right, this is. So yeah, I think that Bolton game did feel good because we know they've been a thorn in our side last few years in this league. And I remember like putting one over Santos, who always seems to play so well against us. And we thought, and both of the goals were very good goals as well, as you said. Like, the second one was well constructed with Chooks setting up Godden, great strike from Doherty, stuff we literally haven't seen since. So, yes, it's a sad list. I mean, it's a sad trying to work out players. I mean, players that have left us now, thinking of players that have done well this year as well. But let's try and look at some fun times and positives to take us into 2025, eh?
Yeah, I did think, just I was in the kitchen just before coming up to do the show, thinking actually overall this will be, the first half an hour of the show will be quite positive because we're thinking about our favourite moments and things that have made us happy this year. So I think actually, I think I needed that personally because it's all got a bit awkward over the last few weeks. Right, goal of 2024. So again, I mean, I'll run us through the options. I did Tim just on the game said the timing of the Birmingham result after those comments from Christian Bielik was special. Right, let's have a look at the favourite goals then of 2024. So I've written down it was about 8 or so there. Ladapo against Lincoln, so I think that must have been his only goal for us because I think the Nathan Jones, the first goal of the Nathan Jones era as well, a long range equaliser from outside the area is quite a good goal. We are scraping a little bit here. Backinson away at Cheltenham did quite well. I think it was a chip ball into the box, and if I remember, he brought a ball down on his chest and turned it around the corner. It was quite a good finish. We've got a couple from Alfie May, both against Barnsley in one game. The first one was a free kick where they sort of left the keeper stranded or wrong-footed and put it in the corner. And the second one wasn't long after. He cut in and sent a bit of a curler across the keeper and in at the far post, which was a lovely little finish. We got Connor Wickham's goal away at Cambridge, which was a real touch of class, like the sort of class you get from a player who obviously has played in the Premier League, put the ball down on his chest and swiveled almost on a sixpence and drilled it into the bottom corner, which was very, very good. George Dobson, his last goal for the club, where it was played through by Wickham and took it round the goalkeeper against Shrewsbury, celebrated in front of the cupboard end. They're all last season, drifting into this season. Greg Doherty's strike against Bolton was a very good goal. See, we won the ball high up the pitch, but it's still a very good finish from the edge of the box. And Nike against Rotherham, outside the area, curler into the top corner. And then Berry, I mean, he scored 2 good goals against Barnsley. I've only put the first one in, which was a real, almost poacher's technical quality finish from the edge of the box, on where the ball seemed to be set up quite high, but he almost sliced the volley into the bottom corner. It was a really good finish. The second one he lifted over the keeper, which was quite good as well. But Tom, I know you've got a really good memory, so I mean I've listed all what happened in all of those goals. But do you have a favourite from those? Anything else you'd like to chuck in? We're seeing a few people in the chat having their say as well. Ed even in Ed saying Anike, Sam saying Anike as well. Span said he thought the Berry goal was probably the best from a technical point of view. What's your thoughts, Tom?
Well, I can't add any more. I can't remember any others, and to be honest, I don't remember half of these. But you saying them back has conjured a few memories. I think Wickham at Cambridge was a good one. More than just the goal, I like going back there. Had a day out with my mates, went to the game, and obviously, as you say, Connor Wickham's a player who's played well above this level. So I think we were expecting sort of glimpses of Premier League quality from him, and never really saw it. But that little split-second moment was. The Dobbo one I'll come back to in a different category about that Shrewsbury game, I think. And then this season, I think all 3 of those goals have actually been pretty decent. I was thinking about it before we came on the show, and if I think about where I sit behind the goal in the North Lower, most of the goals I see that are good ones at that end are from the opposition, which kind of speaks to Jones and them scoring from range, because we seem to concede a lot of them down there. But I think if I had to pick one from this season, probably the Anike one. I like the way that the ball came to him. He just rolled it out from his foot and hit it pretty hard, didn't he, into that top corner. I agree. I think it was Spamfish said the technicality of Berry's is probably the best, and he's probably right. And Doherty, maybe I'm being unfair just because he hasn't done much else, although Anike's obviously been out injured this season. But I think when you combine player, quality of the goal and everything, I think you're probably looking, for me, at the Anike one this season, probably just.
Yeah, All Hell Let Loose wants to chuck Ghassan Hadmay's go away at Southend into the mix as well. And actually, I think that's a fair shout. It probably should have been on there because, I mean, technically he did very well to keep the ball down, but actually the movement to sort of get himself in between the defender and the ball and hit it on the swivel was a good goal, was a very good goal. But as David says, 3 decent strikes in the first half of this season says it all. I mean, Ben, do you want to chuck in any more to the mix or make your pick from that list I've selected there for you?
My pick, I think, would have been May versus Barnsley, his second one, where he just dropped the shoulder, cut in and curled it around the keeper. Simply because to score 2 great goals in that game with the free kick. I mean, can any of us think of when we last saw a Charlton player score direct from a free kick, actually shooting and it going in? We just don't do it.
May against Barnsley last season, if I remember quite correctly. But
that's what I'm saying.
Sarcastic, yeah.
But we just don't do it, do we? So it's like, because when you it was a surprise and oh, what a great goal! I didn't know he could do that kind of thing. And then to score that second, I think it went 1-1. And then to score that second one, I was up with my father-in-law on West Upper, and we was kind of umming and ahhing whether he was coming. I was like, come on, we'll have a good laugh. And then we were both like, oh, wow, that was brilliant. Looking at each other and thinking, oh, great. And to have a player like him score 2 very good goals, and he so deserved it. I mean, he dragged us through that season last season, didn't he? And to score 2 great goals like that, I was so pleased for him and just showing his quality. Look, we don't want to talk about him so much because we want to look at positives going forward. So the other goal from the Southend game, I really like that. I mean, I stood in the away end for it when Edwards crossed it and Lee Burns pinpoint header. I love a goal like that. I think of Naby Sarr's cross for Lyle Taylor against Nottingham Forest in that 1-0 win there. And I think, brilliant, great goal, a cross that is on the striker's head. He rose like a salmon, bang, top corner, keeper no chance. And because it comes so quick, no one has any chance. And yeah, I like a goal like that. So yeah, the Leeburn goal against Southend that's not on there, I did like that one too. But yeah, I guess strikes outside the box we're looking at there with Doherty and Anike. It's just because it's surprising. We just don't do it, do we?
Yeah, we don't do it enough. Yeah, I mean, and now we're on free kick takers. I mean, Ed saying Klaus Jensen's probably the best one before that. Ricky Holmes, a good shout from Spamfish. I think Scott Fraser scored one for us against Shrewsbury season before last, maybe when we beat him 6-0 under Dean Holden. But yeah, that might have been the best goal of 2022. Or so. Oh, Klaus is getting loads of chatting now. It's his season as well. Santa Claus is about to come out, isn't he? Right, let's go on to category number 3. Ben, so you didn't want to talk about Alfie May too much, but I'm afraid he's nominated for this one as well. Player of 2024. So I've chucked 5 names into the mix. Again, if anyone else wants to have a say as well, let us know. But I've put Lloyd Jones, Alfie May, George Dobson, Alex Mitchell, Kane Ramsey. Tom, I mean, this is of the calendar year for 2024. Is there anyone else you'd like to throw in there?
No, I'd argue you'd have to take 4 of them off. I think Alfie May's there by a country mile. I don't think anyone else comes close. I think if we hadn't had Alfie May this season, we'd potentially be in League Two. You take any of the rest of those out of that side this season or last, and I think we'd still be in League One, albeit we might be slightly worse off. I think over time, Lloyd Jones could go on to win a Player of the Year if he sticks around, and I think he's got the potential. Kane Ramsey, back end of last year and start of this season, been brilliant, but obviously injuries have plagued him a bit. Dobbo's consistency has been great. Mitchell, I don't think we've seen enough of yet. So you can go through all of the squad from this season or last season, but I think Alfie May is the only one that if we didn't have him here, we'd have been banging trouble and basically saved our season last year, which is depressing because we're giving him Player of the Year basically because he helped us not get relegated. We're not really giving anybody an award for doing anything of any great note positively. Obviously, personally, he did for the season, but as a club, we're a long way off. And if we're having to start to think about this season, and I know this is the calendar year, and thinking about Player of the Year, I'm already thinking, what's the point? Like, who are you picking? Who stood out in any game? It's like Nath said the other week, didn't he? All the games blend in together, which is quite sad. So I think, yeah, more of this. Am I right? More of this calendar year would be last season than this season. It's about 5 months, isn't it? Or maybe it's about even. But I would have said most of the good stuff that we're talking about is from the back end of last year, which speaks for itself.
Yeah. It probably would be about even over the course of the year. I mean, Richard Wiskin wants to nominate Tyrese Campbell as well into the mix. I like Tyrese, but I don't think he's quite consistent enough. Maybe. But Richard also says he thinks Ramsey's been the best buy. Yeah, David says we should go for Floyd or Harvey. We could do best mascot of the year if we have time at the end out of the two of them. Alan says we could do with May now, and a couple of good points here. All Hell Let Loose says so. There's no signings on there from. There's no names on there from this season's summer signings. So obviously Alex Mitchell is in there, but there's not many on there from this season's summer signings. As Paul says, Alfie's best work was before Jones came, of course, but he still scored a fair few goals in the back end of last season. Ben, can you go anywhere other than Alfie May?
Yeah, well, as I said earlier, I'd kind of like, I totally agree with all of Tom's comments because it's true, unfortunately. But if we were to look at the team now and going forward, I'd look at Lloyd Jones, as we previously said. I mean, last season we got 4 clean sheets, and he was part of the team that got 3 clean sheets. And obviously he had an injury towards the end of the season, and Jones was playing Hector and Thomas a lot to just see if they warranted a contract. And then this season, he's been part of the side that's had 7 clean sheets. So I think there was 1 clean sheet against Burton that he wasn't involved in. But is it a surprise he's come back? And the first 2 games he's come back, we've kept clean sheets in both. So, yeah, I personally look at him as something that we can build our team around. I think he's a great player. And I think Mitchell and Gillespie play better when he's playing as well. I think he's a real leader of part of our side and someone we can look to. I'd look at Lloyd and think, fair play, Lloyd. You've improved from last season because, I mean, our defence was so bad last season. And it was, I mean, you said to look for the good goals of this season. this year. And I look back and some of the goals we conceded are criminal. So bad. And I know he was part of that for some of the games. So to take him out of that defence, along with some of the ex-defenders, put him in the defence, Gillespie's there, obviously Alex Mitchell's there, changed keepers a bit with Mannion and Maynard Brewer, and to really help with us keeping clean sheets this year. I know we've not scored enough goals, and I know we're not doing as well as we hope we would be, but we've got to admit the defence has got better, and I think he's been a massive part of that.
Oh, hell, Lucy's asking why Terry Taylor's not on the list. Yeah, maybe could have been a nomination. He's not really played a great deal, though. I guess if you put in Terry on, you got to put Connor on as well, I think, as well. So if we're sort of going down to that level. But yeah, it's obviously a subjective list. Right, this is a bit of an easier category to get your head around, I think. Manager of 2024. You got two choices. I didn't bother putting in Curtis Fleming as a caretaker between the two, but you got Michael Appleton or Nathan Jones. Martin Eisted says I've missed a certain goalkeeper for the Player of the Year. I'm guessing he means Harry Eisted. I think Northampton might nominate him as our Player of the Year as well, actually, when they remember the mistake he made at Sixfields last year. Yeah, Michael Appleton or Nathan Jones. Tom, does reading out that list of nominations provide some perspective from where we've come from, or is it just a reminder that overall things haven't massively improved in terms of on the pitch? So how do you feel about that?
I mean, it's a reminder of where we've come from. I don't know if it provides enough context to give me that much comfort, because there is an argument that footballing wise we've maybe not gone backwards, but we've certainly stagnated. I think when Jones come in, and it's a bit like the conversation about Alfie May last year, when Jones came in, we were in so much trouble and he took us away from that. And as Benji was talking a little bit about there with Lloyd Jones, when you look at just the defensive side of where we were, well, I go back to New Year's Day or the Port Vale game shortly after, conceded 3 goals away there. And you look at where we are now, it's a massive improvement. And Jones deserves a lot of credit for that. I know lots of the players were here, but Edwards wasn't here. Mitchell wasn't here. Mannion wasn't here. Ramsey wasn't playing that much. So he has tightened them up brilliantly defensively, and he deserves credit for that. But the goal scoring is such an issue. And I'm not one who's crying over Alfie May leaving. I get why he left. He was offered more money. They're paying through the nose, Birmingham. And let's face it, Nathan Jones was not picking him. Whether you agree with that or not, he was sort of in and out of the side as Jones tried to formulate what he wanted to do with this side. And whether you like that or not, that's the manager's prerogative. But he hasn't got the attacking side right, has he, at all? May was the cheat code last year. Anike always is the cheat code for any manager. And I think you'd argue, actually, that apart from the individuality of Alfie May's goals, I can't think of a manager that has got us right attacking, really, because so many times when Anike is around, we do okay. And when he's not, we don't. So that's not to defend Nathan Jones. He needs to figure that bit out. And he also needs to figure out the style of football, which, as I say, is as bad as it's been for a long time, as far as I'm concerned. But in terms of these two and numbers, you're right. It is obviously not a difficult decision. And I just really hope, going back to stuff I've said in recent weeks when Jones has been under pressure, I hope he can figure that attacking side out, because this list just goes to show. And if we did the last year list, there'd be 2 or 3 names, and the year before, there'd be 2 or 3 names. We haven't progressed. So it goes to show that changing your manager is, at the moment, doesn't appear to be the answer, not without much more joined up thinking from everything I spoke about a week or 2 ago.
Well, I'll just look at the chat. I mean, Chris says it's a rock and a hard place for managers. You know, maybe not quite the easy decision that some people think it is. Paul says truly an embarrassment of managerial riches. Dutchy says choosing between Appleton and Jones is like choosing between Aldi or Lidl. Yeah, and then All Hell Let Loose says, isn't Charlie Mevin a manager at Charlton? Can he not join the list? Yeah, he could have, but he wasn't nominated, unfortunately. Right, just finally then, this one's sort of open for your ideas, really. It's just to give us your nominations for the best moment of 2024. So when I spoke to Tom and Ben earlier, I sort of said this doesn't necessarily have to be a game or a specific win. It could be a best moment. So up there for me. I've written down a couple of ones. I know one which will come up for a lot of people will be the upbeats. Always one of the best moments of the year. I think the Raging Off My Nut interview was quite interesting. That was up there as well. So Ben, we've only got a couple of minutes on this, but if you can tell us your favourite moments of 2024. Actually, I'm just going to throw one more into the mix. Now it's been mentioned, is when everyone thought Michael Appleton had been sacked when he hadn't. And like everyone was saying, "Oh no, he has," and telling me and Rich that we were wrong when we said no, he hasn't. This is him doing a press conference with us. This is him managing the football club for another game. That was quite funny as well. But also the press conference he had to do when everyone thought he had been sacked and he hadn't was really funny. And Nick Godwin from BBC Radio London's first question was, "Have you been sacked?" And he was like, "No, I'm still here." Ben, what have you got?
It's very difficult. I know Tom's got a nice one to go to, but I'm just gonna say that when we said what players we were releasing, Michael Hector and Terrell Thomas being released was a great moment for me, just because I just was glad that Jones could see how bad they were. And if we look now, we could do a show and look at our last lot of, like, where are they now for players that we've let go or that we signed and they've gone over the last 3 years. And there is barely any of them doing any better than where we are now. And we are doing bad now, but they're worse than where we are now. I mean, Michael Hector still hasn't got a club, and Terrell Thomas is part of Carlisle's side that's a bottom of the 92. So it's like, they were two terrible players for us. Don't get me wrong. Don't know them personally. I wasn't jumping for joy because I was like, get them out of the club. But that defence last year, I mean, we can all moan that we're not scoring goals. But when you let the likes of Carlisle come to the Valley and score 2 goals, Port Vale came and scored 3 goals at the Valley last year, and Hector made a massive mistake in that. I mean, it was so embarrassing last year with the goals we conceded in the 90th minute. Don't get me wrong, I'm not pinpointing just those 2 players because we had a whole defence that were playing bad, but I saw those 2 playing bad, and where we look at them now, it wasn't great. And yeah, we can look at a lot of those players that were released, but for me, like, the defence has been a big part of this season going forward, and Jones has worked for them. But yeah, I mean, when those 2, Jones and Hector and Thomas, just were no good. Look at where they are now. Look at loads of players where they are now, like Kirk and players like that. But yeah, that for me, I was going to say the upbeats walk as well, because I loved that day. It's brilliant. And that easily was the best day of last year. But for a moment, yeah, I'd probably say that.
Tom, Paul's pointing out the Lavelles at Carlisle as well. And Tim saying, when your highlight of the year is letting 2 players go, you know how bad we've done. Yeah, Chris, good one here. Mod Mag winning fanzine of the year again. Yeah, I sent Gav a text on the night. That's such a good achievement to win it 2 times out of 3 years. It's very, very good. Dudley says when the last game of the season was over. Yeah, Richard saying the final whistle. Best moment from Alan was when the lights went out and we locked the gates. And as Ben says, week 2 of my graph, when at that point I even added a line to suggest we weren't going to concede a goal all season as well. And then Tom, just very quickly, so we've got to turn our attention to Northampton. Your favourite moment of 2024?
Yeah, it's quite easy for me. I managed to get my granddad down to a game, so he's the reason I support Charlton, sadly. From about 30 years ago. Can't really come down from up near Cambridge anymore, but we managed to get him down for the last home game of the season. Sat with him down at the front pitch side, and obviously the Dobbo goal was down at the covered end as well. So it was just a really good day and a nice memory. And I'm sure lots of people on the pitch, not so happy, but I'm sure lots of people have got stories of, you know, maybe they've had kids and they've brought them to their first game, or you know, that sort of stuff, family and mates. That doesn't go away, does it? And obviously I couldn't make our drinks, our Charlton Live drinks last week, but little things like that we get to do, the upbeats walk, as you say, I think those are the things that when we're as bad as we are at the moment, you've got to cling on to as good moments, because that's kind of what it's all about.
Lovely stuff. Really good late nomination here as well from Dudley. Alfie May's arse over tit. Tunnel job as well. That's a very good moment. Right, quick break. When we come back, we will turn our attention to Northampton away.
PSF Steel Limited is a trade supplier of steel fabrication and erection services to the new build, construction and refurbishment market in southern England. With their unrivaled depth of experience, they excel at providing their customers with high quality and cost-effective steel fabrication solutions. Their customers include national and regional house builders, such as Barratt Homes, Bellway Homes, the Vistry Group and Taylor Wimpey. They pride themselves on their service-based ethos and commitment to customer service excellence, which includes full technical backup and on-site services and support. If you would like more information, go to www.psfsteel.co.uk. That's www.psfsteel.co.uk.
Hello fellow addicts, I'm so excited to tell you all about our micropub, the River Ale House. The River Ale House is based in East Greenwich. It has 6 Pub of the Year awards, an ever-changing selection of amazing beer. It's owned by Charlton fans, walkable to the ground in just 20 minutes with buses that go direct to the Valley too. If your matchday routine includes a drink with your friends, you must join your fellow addicts in the river. See you soon.
Right, welcome back to Charlton Live. This is the big match preview. Now, delighted to say that we can start to look ahead to the Northampton game. And we are being joined by Northampton Town fan Andy Garner, who doesn't appear to be Ben Garner in a wig and glasses. Andy, thank you for your time this evening. How's it going?
Yeah, really good. Yourselves? Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, not too bad at all, thanks. Yeah, tell us a little bit about your season so far, because obviously it's been a slightly difficult one. It's ended up with John Brady leaving recently, got caretaker manager in charge. Tell us if where it went wrong isn't too strong, where it's gone wrong so far this season.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a mixed bag for us. I was looking at your record and similar frustrations. I think we've got some good results against some of the top teams. We beat Huddersfield away, got a draw at Birmingham, draw at Barnsley, and then we've got thumped by Bolton and Wrexham, and then also 0-0 at home against Cambridge, 0-0 against Burton. Some of the teams you want to beat down the bottom, we've struggled against. Really been a season, I think, of on paper we've got a lot of good players in over the pre-season, but heavy injuries. At times 12-14 players who would either be in the first team or on the door of the first team out and unavailable. And the sense with the fans is when John Brady resigned after 3.5 really successful years for us, that was at the heart of it. Really, it was taking its toll on him as a individual, and probably best for his own well-being. If he's taken as far as he can. But to be honest, in terms of our budget, we're probably on par about where we'd expect to be. If we stay up, we'll be happy with that.
Hi, Andy. Thanks for coming on this evening, mate. I was just going to say, along similar lines, really. I mean, you finished 14th last season. It was your first season back in League One. You had Hoskins that was right up the top of the goal scoring charts. Where are the positives this season where you see with your side? I mean, there were obviously positives last season, and John Brady was obviously one of them. Other than obviously not having him around anymore, what positives have you got in the side?
Yeah, I think there was. That result at Huddersfield was a real positive, and I think Brady was trying to evolve the style into a more attacking option from last year. And we've got Tyler Roberts there, who's on loan from Birmingham, played 50 games in the Premier League for Leeds. Got Tariq Fosu, who played for the Brentford team when they went up through the playoffs. So he was trying to get some more skillful League One sort of level forward players, and was probably too expansive. And after the Huddersfield game, we got thumped against Bolton and Wrexham, and then he tightened it right up. So we went to Birmingham and played a low block, got a draw there. So yes, I think the defence has sort of solidified now, and that's been a highlight. If you want to ask me about player of the season so far, we'd probably look at John Guthrie as our captain and centre half, who's been a constant in an injury-riddled defence at the back there. Probably the one standout has actually been a real rare sunshine as our left back, Nestor Guinness-Walker, who was without a club. He came off this sort of PFA scheme, and we signed him out of contract, and he's just been really, really strong and good at left back there. So yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag for us. We'd love to see anything like a fully fit side getting a sort of run of games, and I think if we had that, we're confident we might be all right with this squad. But you never know, do you? Depends on where you get.
Andy, you mentioned Tariq Fosu briefly there. He's someone we know well. Had him for a couple of years, I think. So he'll almost certainly score at the weekend. But how's he been? And what do Town fans make of him?
I say he's been mixed. He sort of started. He didn't really sort of play much, did he, last season? I don't think he played at all. But so getting match fit was a challenge. But he came off the bench against Exeter. We were 1-0 down, and he absolutely ran the ragged. We won it 2-1. You know, he turned it around, and he's been strong a couple of times from the bench. Strong against that Huddersfield game, and then sort of sometimes gets a start, and he's a bit invisible. More recently, he was not in the squad last weekend, carrying a knock. So not sure whether we'll see him either on the bench, but probably for us, I think, being in a relegation dogfight, he's probably a bit of a luxury player in that situation, a bit of a confidence player, but a great option probably for us off the bench if he can, stay fit. But when he's playing, he's a great player.
Just looking at our comments, I mean, Dutchie's asked if you would like Danny Hilton back. Tell us about your experiences with Danny over the last couple of years.
Yeah, Danny's didn't make a great fan of himself with the Cobblers fans. I don't think generally. From a personal point of view, I was pretty excited that he came when he did, and these early games he looked, again when we're in League Two, at a good level. He never scored a single goal for us. He came on and had a bit of a bit part. When he came on, he a bit like Tariq. He was useful, but he sort of disappeared. He was injured, not available to play. So I think all in all, we were a bit disappointed with Danny. We sort of think he's really a Luton man, isn't he? And not surprised that he came to join back there with Nathan, with you guys. I see he's played a little bit, but he's not playing so much this year, is he? Perhaps his best years behind him.
Yeah, he's not. I'm not expecting him to play too much more. But we'll see. I mean, just how do you see Saturday going then? So, like I say, both sides. So you're on 1 win in 8 or 2 in 9, and we're on 1 win in 9 or 2 in 10. If you want to put it that way. How do you see Saturday going?
I see you've racked up a few 0-0s. We've done the same, so it might be a dull 0-0. It could go either way, couldn't it? If we beat Peterborough on Sky week last Monday, real battling performance. If we turn up, do something like that, we could win it. And then we got thumped by Rotherham last Saturday, never turned up, lost 3-0. It's been a bit like that. It's been up and down. So it'll be a case of how he decides to set it up, I think, and who's fit on the day. So I'd be sort of quietly optimistic we could sneak it if you were off it. I don't know how you are at the moment, but if you're slightly off it and we get going, I think early goal would be key. If you get one, you could well win it. If we get one, we could well take it.
Yeah, every game where we've scored first, we've gone on to win. Every game where we've gone behind in, I think we've taken 4 points or something from a possible 30-something points. I'm just finding as what Ben was asking, who you want to be your new manager. I was speaking with Danny yesterday, and he said that apparently Michael Appleton's name's been thrown into the mix.
Yes.
So good one there if you want him.
No. I don't think you'll find any Cobblers fans who would want to see Michael at Michael of the Cobblers. Has got a bit of you probably talked to Danny about it, that when we won the league and Oxford finished second, and he said they were the best team. There's a bit of history there. I think we helped you, didn't we, last season? When we beat you, that was his last game, which you're all, I believe, pretty keen to see. But in terms of next manager, I don't envy the chairman's decision, really. I think I just heard it before the break there. You were talking about managers. It's a bit of a lottery. If I look at our really successful managers in my lifetime, one came from non-league, one was the youth team coach. And then we had people like Gary Johnson, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, who we think, we're going to really kick on now, and have been hopeless. So it's a bit of a lottery. But there's probably next few. There's Andy Woodman at Bromley, who is something of a Cobblers legend. Played for us when we got promoted through the playoffs in 97, but not proven at this level. And then, I would love Mark Robbins, I think.
He's
And we
just
see
turned
Des
down
Godwin.
Millwall, isn't he, Mark Robbins? So
Has he
it'd be
gone?
a bit
Has
of
he
a
gone?
stretch, yeah.
Yeah. Is that announced now? Is he gone?
No, he's turned down Millwall. He's
Oh, is he? Right. Okay. So it's
Yeah.
unlikely to get anywhere near him. Yeah. So probably Andy Woodman. That's the chatter. He's favourite at the moment, which I think would be okay with. So whether
Lovely
he keeps
stuff.
us up, we'll see.
Yeah, well, excellent. Well, good luck after Saturday, of course.
Right.
And we will see. Let the best team win. Cheers for your time, Andy.
Yes, thank you, Max.
There we go. That's Andy Garner, Ben Garner's long lost cousin, and Northampton Town fan. Right, let's look ahead to the game from a Charlton point of view. Nathan Jones sat down for his presser today. These are his thoughts ahead of the trip to Sixfields.
We've had Lloyd, Daniel, and now Will back in the side. It seems that we are sort of turning a corner, potentially. I don't touch wood here with injuries. But Christmas period coming up is 5 games in 2 weeks, I think, over the period. Do you have to be careful about bringing players back now, especially because of the load?
Well, we bring people back when they're ready. There's processes in place. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of good processes behind the club now, where we only bring people back when they're ready. So we understand that there's 5. Someone will come back, won't play 90 minutes in 2 weeks, but the squad is strong enough to handle that. But we'll only bring people back when they're ready anyway, regardless if it's Christmas period, regardless if it's a game every 10 days, whatever that is. We'll only bring him back when it's safe to do so anyway.
The one player that obviously we know was long term is Kane Ramsey. How is he? How is he on schedule? And how is he in himself as well, being it's a long term injury?
Well, look, he's a lot closer than he was before. We've had some good news. He's out running, so that's a good thing. So he's not as far away as probably people think, but it's a frustrating one because he was in such good form for us. He was a big part of what we did, and he provided that balance on the right hand side, which is something we've lacked really, because we've played Therese Campbell out there, and it's something that we've tried to find a solution for that right sider, because ironically we've had the 3 people that can play out there in terms of that have all been injured, in terms of Tenai, in terms of Kane, and also Zach Mitchell. So that's been the frustrating thing for us. But he's in a real good place. Mentally, he's in a good place. We've got good people here. It's a good environment. So that's one thing. And then now he's at the final bit of that hopefully we'll get him back sooner rather than later.
It's a question I meant to ask in recent games, that because we've had a couple of games where we played without a keeper. Which is not in itself not unusual potentially, but do we have a would-be keeper in the squad that you can call on should the unthinkable happen, and you have to have somebody? Is there anybody who's put their hand up and put their name forward to go in between the sticks? Yeah,
look, we've got a couple that will do that, but we've also got a couple, plenty who are over 6 foot, so it can do that. Look, what we've done is, with Will not being available, we've just got a young lad really, which is a gamble in itself. So what we've done is probably play another positive player on the bench in terms of an attacker or frontman or an attacking midfield player. And look, that sometimes can hurt you. If you have an injury to a goalkeeper, then you look a fool. But if you don't, then it gives you another option. So we've just tried to be positive in terms of that. But obviously Will's back now, so we've got 2 sort of first choice keepers back now. So that's something that, moving forward, we think carefully about.
I just wondered if there was an outfield player having to go through some goalkeeper training just in case.
Well, we used to have Henry Lansbury at a previous club where he loved it. He really fancied himself as being a goalkeeper, and obviously how good he was in possession and stuff. But we haven't quite got someone like that. But as you said, it's something we won't do every week. But in recent weeks, we felt it was a calculated gamble and something that we felt we could do.
We're up against Northampton, obviously, on Saturday. They have a very similar record to us in terms of the last 8 league games, but perhaps critically as well. They've obviously just lost their manager. That make it difficult to try and predict what they're going to be, how they're going to play, and how you're going to approach it.
Well, look, we have to be the best version of ourselves. We always preach about that. Yes, we look at opposition and what their strengths are, but for us, it's always about being the best version of ourselves, and that's what we do most of our work on doing. So regardless of what Northampton do, we have to be, if we turn up and we are the best versions of ourselves in and out of possession, then I'm content and I can go home and sleep at night. That's all we're really concerned about. Now, Northampton will have threats. Last year we had a tough game when we went there. Ironically, I watched the game here just before I took over. and Charlton played quite well, but obviously conceded 3 in the game. We went away last year and were, I thought, pretty dominant in the game away from home, but made an error late on which cost us the win. So hopefully we'll rectify all those things and get a positive result.
There we go. That's Nathan talking to Terry earlier on today to look ahead to the game with Northampton Town up at Sixfields. We've got to be the best version of ourselves, Ben. We've been striving to be the best version of ourselves all season. Judging by the fact we have won 1 in 9 or 2 in 13, I'm guessing we haven't. So again, what does the best version of ourselves actually look like, and how does that play out on Saturday? Because clearly we've not done it anywhere near enough this season.
Well, the best version of this side is winning narrowly, scoring early, as you just said to our guest there, Andy, and holding on to it. That's how we win a game. We score, well, not super early, but we score and hold on to the win, and we win narrowly, and we win by a fine margin. We've seen positive shoots in terms of the defence in the last 2 games. As I mentioned earlier, Lloyd coming into that defence helps us keep clean sheets. So that's a big positive. We look back at the game on Saturday against Mansfield. Well, we said afterwards, didn't we, that we didn't think Tyrese had a great game, but all our best chances came from him. So you'd look at getting him on the ball as much as possible. Hopefully he starts again, and getting him in around the number 10 role and on the wing, because that's how he set up our best chance of the game against Mansfield when Karoy was through 1-on-1, and trying to provide more of those chances. I mean, to be honest, I would stick with the same 11, because I actually felt like we played some decent football. I know our end result when playing this decent football didn't end to a goal or didn't end to many shots on goal. But I think we're only going to get better when relationships get stronger, where we play the same kind of 11. I mean, we're not going to change our back 3, are we? Because that's our best back 3. I think Thierry offers us a good option on the left there. He gets forward well. And look, when a player's running at you with pace like he is, they're scared. They run back, and we need more ball travellers in this team, because that's a great way to get up the pitch. So, yeah, look, I think we've got to look at the basics of and the basis of our team. And that starts with those 3 at the back, and I feel positive with that. They restricted Mansfield to very little chances, to little crosses across the goal, which, look, they should have scored. But Northampton aren't in good form. They haven't got a manager, and they're down the bottom because they're not very good at the moment. So how can we take advantage of that? Well, keep with the same side and try and come up with some of the chances we came up with on Saturday. And hopefully, if we keep these players and relationships going, that builds stronger, and we can get more chances and take them.
Northampton are only 3 points behind us, Ben. Just a little reminder. That's quite. I literally only just looked that up actually, and I was like, blimey, because in my mind I've been thinking, Northampton have had a poor season, but could be on level points with us after Saturday. Tom, I want to bring to your attention a couple of emails that have come in. Phil is asking, it says, I can't believe Nathan Jones thinks we're not too far away from being a good side. How he thinks we're not a long ball team when Charlton fans and opposition managers know we are. Dobson, May and Blackett-Taylor have left the club and not been replaced by anyone better. We need to send Alan Campbell back to Luton. Would like to know what the SMT think. Let's hope we can get Gavin on. Sorry for being so negative. I just want to get out of this horrible division. I mean, it's some of the managers' comments over the last few weeks have obviously picked up quite a lot of conversation from supporters, but are you one of those that just wants to see the talking done on the pitch at this moment in time? So no matter what he says about whether we're starting to play the ball a bit more, which we are to an extent, but obviously not successfully enough, is the frustration still boiling underneath? And what would you need to see on Saturday to give you a suggestion that we're actually moving in the right direction?
To see us move in the right direction, I need to see us completely destroy Northampton. Right direction, we'd need 65-70% possession. We'd need 3 times the amount of passes they would need, and we'd need to beat them 3 or 4-0. That's not going to happen. Could we beat them 1-0? Maybe, yes, that's very possible. probably is that going to get us very far in this season? I don't think it is. So it's a difficult one. I don't really know what the answer is. Listening to Benji talking about the lineup and who you put in or take out, every time I mention any name, you can pick any name in the side, apart from Alan Campbell. I can find reasons to put him in the side, and then once I've convinced myself that's the right decision, I can find just as many reasons to take him back out and put somebody else in. And I think that's the problem. Benji said it about consistency, and I've spoken a lot about that, particularly in defence for a while. And I think he's right. I think that back three's right. I think that midfield had an okay balance, because you look at the other options and it was Berry who came on and didn't do a lot, Campbell, who I've just mentioned, and Doherty, who struggled. And you look up front and I think, okay, well, actually, Leeburn probably played better than Godden up front. So do you start with him? But then Godden's not really got in the game. Is that Godden's fault or is that the team's fault? I don't know. So I'm just really struggling with this side, to be honest. I don't know how we set up, because as people are saying, you're talking about wingers, but we haven't really got any wingers, but we need width. If you play the 5 at the back, do you have to play TC at right wing back? Because that didn't really work. The whole thing just feels very unbalanced. And to go back to that point about seeing us click, for want of a better phrase, I just don't see it happening myself, not without a big overhaul in January.
Dutchy pointing out we've only scored 3 goals in the first half of league games all season. We're a second half team. Which is a weird. It's such a weird stat for us. I spoke to Nathan Jones about slow starts after Huddersfield when we conceded the first goal quite a lot. Mook Squared says someone asked if there are going to be any parking restrictions at the ground on Boxing Day. I think more of us are interested when the scoring restrictions are going to be lifted. Goalless in 3 games, Ben. That's got to start to be put right on Saturday. Godden's got a decent enough goal return this season. Leeburn hasn't looked himself for the majority since he's come back. That's got to start to concern us that all season we've not scored enough goals, but they've really dried up now.
Massively concerning. Gordon got taken off at half time on Saturday. Can people really turn around and say he had a bad game? Just doesn't get any opportunities to score a goal. We don't get crosses into the box. We don't have moments of play where he then has a half chance where he might squander it. He just doesn't get any opportunities. And Miles gets chances when he comes on, because we resort to just throwing crosses after cross into the box. And Miles is 6'5", 6'6". Of course, that's going to be a threat. But when it becomes so predictable, it then doesn't become a threat. But when he comes off the bench, it's great, because he's a big unit and defenders will get scared. But he didn't score on Saturday, did he? He had a massive chance. He squandered that. He had a header that come off the post, which was unlucky. You'd like us to have moments of play where Small gets down one side and Tyrese gets down, and we play it a little bit like we did on Saturday. Don't get me wrong. We weren't great Saturday, but there were little moments where we thought, okay, this is getting better, where we can provide chances for Godden. Because, come on. He's a striker that has done it in the Championship. Not last season, because granted, he didn't play loads of games, but he's come down from the Championship. You can see he's hungry for it, because otherwise he wouldn't have scored so many goals as he has done this season. Under barely any chances. We just don't get chances. It's the same when people slag off for Hadme. So, Tyrese was our big chance maker last week. All right, he got pushed off the ball a bit and you thought, all right, come on, TC, step up a little bit, mate. But if we get him on the ball a little bit more, get the ball down the side to Thierry, get some crosses in, low crosses on the floor. I think back to Kanu setting up Godden against Cambridge, and I thought, that was brilliant. Well worked. Bit more of that. As I said, stick to the same 11. Let's get some partnerships going. Let's get Godden in the game a little bit more, because this guy, he's a great finisher. And I think any team in League One would want him.
And just finally, before we finish, Tom, I can't be bothered to have the midfielder debate, which one's going to come in, which one's going to not. But Ed said, I guess there is a goalie debate again now, because Will Mannion's back fit. He's been on the bench. Ashley Maynard-Brewer, which way would you go? Ashley has been in goal for the last few weeks. Ed's asking, would you put Will back in over Ashley?
Yeah, I would. I think commands the respect to the back four a little bit better. I think he's a bit more vocal. I think Ashley's a good shot stopper on the whole, but he's looked shaky and his distribution's been poor. So, yeah, sadly for him, I just don't think he's made a good enough impression in this time. I know neither of them really are number one, but I think Mannion was growing into an okay goalkeeper, so I'd like to see him go back in. Unless, of course, Nathan Jones got someone else in mind, Miles Leaburn or someone perhaps.
Excellent stuff. Right, we've run out of time on this week's big match preview. We will be back on Sunday to look back at the Northampton game, and we will be having our Christmas quiz. So probably end up being a marginally longer show than normal on Sunday. So make sure you join us. You can play along for that quiz as well. It's always one of my favourites. I've already set it up. I've got all the buzzers and ready to go as well. So looking forward to having some Christmas fun on Sunday. So yeah, we won't be back here next Thursday. Or that'd be Boxing Day or something? I don't know. With no more big match previews until the new year. But yeah, our last show of the year will be on Sunday. So look forward to seeing you all then. Massive thanks to our guest, Ben Garner's cousin Andy, who joined us earlier on. Big thanks to Ben and Tom as well. Got to speak to you, Perry. Up.
Cheers, lads.
Let's hope 2025's awards are better than 2024's.
I've got a horrible feeling they're going to be exactly the same. Right, massive thanks to everyone who's joined us live this evening. Enjoyed your nominations for the 2024 awards. Really look forward to seeing you all again on Sunday. So this has been Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel. My name is Louis Meadows. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on Sunday morning.